Brisbane and Gold Coast. In a moment, I'm going to tell you about a door-knocking campaign that is about to launch across some of the suburbs around Brisbane's Bayside. This isn't door-knocking for the sake of selling vacuum cleaners or asking you how you feel about your local political leader. This is actually people bringing help to your front door, help that you might need even though you didn't know you need it, or you need but you don't know how to access it. This is a very interesting new mental health initiative happening here in Brisbane. It's a new initiative and you'll find out a little bit more about why and how it works right after this.
ABC Radio Brisbane, keeping local conversations going.
How are you?
How are you feeling, more importantly?
I was actually selling cigarettes at school to pay rent.
Every day we're learning more and more about this.
But I get more people who will sit and talk to me.
I'd like to see more Australians come home, but it makes me nervous.
Copy that over, Roger. We'll be having a coffee and pie and show you around the local area.
Stay connected with ABC Radio Brisbane.
You're listening to Kat Feeney on ABC Radio Brisbane and Queensland.
It is 20 minutes past 1. Now, door knocking mightn't be as common as it used to be in the days of door-to-door salespeople, but if you live on Brisbane's Bayside, chances are you might have a little knock on your front door soon. The thing is, these people aren't trying to flog you a new vacuum cleaner or sign you up to some sort of pyramid scheme. Instead, they just want to have a conversation with you, say good day, and get to know a little bit about how they might be able to help. Tristan Brownson can tell you a little bit more. She's in charge of the project being carried out by the mental health charity Stride as part of Community Mental Health Association Australia. Tristan, great to have you in the studio this afternoon.
Hi, Kat. Thank you for inviting me.
Why are you door knocking around Tingalpa, Hemet, the Bayside Islands, Murray, Wynnum West and Manly West?
We are door knocking. We're checking on people's social and emotional well-being. Particularly around COVID, obviously the last 18 months has been really difficult for a lot of people. We're raising awareness of mental health, social and emotional well-being, specifically targeting areas of need. So those areas, as you mentioned earlier, that people might necessarily not have resources, might not have information about what's available to them. There is still a lot of stigma around mental health. So, frequently people don't reach out when they need help. So Community Mental Health Australia have secured some federal funding. They've onboarded several community organisations, non-government organisations, who have employed 2 people connectors. Mm-hmm. The area that my project is in is across Tingalpa, Hemmant, the Bayside Islands. Mm-hmm. So, the Southern Moreton Bay Islands. Yep. Stradbroke, Wynnum West and Manly West and Murray. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing, we will letterbox drop with a little card saying, hey, we're going to be in your area. We're going to be knocking on your door. We'd love to have a chat just about your social and emotional well-being. The people connectors will follow up within the next week. They'll knock on doors. They'll just have a chat about people, how they're going, how they've managed through COVID, whether there's any issues that they're concerned about with their own mental health or family members or friends. We have resource packs that we're handing out. So there's a really cool fridge magnet that people can pop up on their fridges that have got all the local services listed. So both NDIS and non-NDIS. Mm-hmm. And then if there's anything that's not included that, we identify with people having those conversations, we can link them into services. So, we've come across domestic violence issues. We've come across drug and alcohol issues. There's a lot of isolation. One of the things that's really standing out in these areas is the lack of public transport. Mm-hmm. So, therefore, isolation is a big thing in these areas.
Not to mention accessing services, I would expect.
Accessing services and people not knowing what services. I know you were mentioning before, yes, you can go to your GP and you can have a referral to a psychologist or a counsellor, But there are a lot more services than just clinical. There's a lot of community services around, free services, and that's specifically what we're looking at, how we can link people to those services. So we can refer, we can do a warm handover, we can make a phone call to a service and say, hey, we've got this person who's given us consent to contact you. This is what they need. So that's what we're doing. The second part of the project is research to inform future funding, hopefully for future services.
Okay.
So that's all being collated by the Centre for Social Impact. So all of the areas across Australia, all of the feedback goes to Centre for Social Impact in WA, and they'll produce all of that research, and that's hopefully informing funding, for future programs.
Can you give us an example of, a need that might be particularly typical in that area, or a need that you're coming across often, and a pathway that someone might be able to then embark down with your assistance?
So we are looking really importantly at marginalised groups. So, there are certain areas that have a high percentage of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people living within the communities. So one of the things that my team have done, someone in particular who really socially isolated, very young mum, 2 small children, the team, the People Connectors, have linked her with a local Indigenous specific kindy. So they've reached out, they've made that connection, which is fabulous, because one of the things that this young girl flagged was isolation. She's living in one of the housing areas, doesn't know neighbours, doesn't know anyone, hasn't lived there for too long. So linking her with an Indigenous specific community, community kindy, she's really, really happy about that. So hopefully through there she'll make more contacts, she'll become more connected.
Yeah. And why go beyond just the letterbox drop, Tristan? As you said, you're dropping information into people's letterboxes. Yeah. What's stopping you just putting all of the details about all of the different services in that one letter and leaving it at that? Why actually take the step of knocking on someone's door?
So what we've found is that a lot of the places, the People Connectors will drop. They'll go back a few days later. Frequently, those cards are still in letterboxes. So people haven't seen them. They haven't looked at them. There is a phone number that they can phone. If we miss people on the day, they can phone up and say, hey, I'd actually like to chat to someone and have an appointment, and the girls can go back. I think it's that face-to-face connection, Kat. A piece of paper is a piece of paper. What are these people going to do? That doesn't mean anything to me. But if we can meet people face-to-face, where they're at, we can connect with them. Therefore, we can connect them with the services that they need. Yeah.
You're on ABC Brisbane and Gold Coast, 25 minutes past 1. My name is Kat Feeney, and you're hearing from Tristan Brownson from Stride, an organisation, an NGO based here in Brisbane that's managing the Assisting Communities Through Direct Connection door knocking project in Brisbane for Community Mental Health Australia. This is a project that aims to link you to services in your local area, services that you might not need now, but services that you might be well placed to know a little bit about case the need arises, or services that you actually do need but don't know much about. So as you mentioned, you'll be letterboxing the area that your team's responsible for, so around the Bayside, advising them that expect a knock, this is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
You've also got areas in that geographical location that are don't knock areas. So how are you going to reach those people?
So there are a couple of areas that we've noticed that, a lot of people have don't knock signs on their doors. Completely understand that for various reasons. What we've been doing across on the island, so Russell, Macleay and Stratty, we will be at NAIDOC Week activities on Stradbroke on the 19th of July. Community activities, so community barbecue. So what we are planning for next week, Tuesday the 8th of June in Primrose Park at Wynnum West, between 12 and 2 is to have a community barbecue. So we would love people to come along. We would love to have a chat, see if there's anything we can do to help, you know, because that is one of the areas that has a lot of don't knock signs. So it's obviously difficult to connect when we can't knock on people's doors.
So if you've been struggling, we're talking about emotional support, mental health support. If you feel like you've been struggling and you don't really know what to make of it, you might need a bit of help, but you don't know how to find that help, you might look to answering the door when you hear that door knock and having that conversation or turning up to Primrose Park on the 8th of June. Tristan, what do you think this will all achieve? I mean, how long are you running this project for?
So the project is time limited. So within each area, 4 months essentially. So we'll be finishing up mid-August with this one. We're actually achieving already what we'd hoped to achieve, which is having conversations with people in the community, connecting them to services, providing them with resources, hopefully engaging people in a survey. As I said, that will inform future funding. So we're actually having really good outcomes already.
And how many people do you expect to reach over the next 4 months?
So a couple of thousand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. And of those couple of thousand people that you contact, how many people do you think will go on to access services?
That's really hard to say, Kat. I would like to think all. You know, that's our aim, that everybody we connect with who has a need, we can link with a service.
Tristan, we look forward to catching up with you again a little further on, possibly when you've got some research back to see how it's all going. But thank you very much for taking some time to tell us about the project today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Tristan Brownson from Stride, managing the Assisting Communities Through Direct Action Door Knocking project in Brizzy for Community Mental Health Australia. Don't forget that barbecue at Primrose Park, 8 June, 12 to 2.
This is ABC Radio Brisbane and Queensland with Kat Feeney.
G'day, if you've just joined